Before we jump into the agenda, last month's meeting, I wasn't here. Can you just fill me in? Were there any takeaways from that meeting that?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we discussed at the time was this presentation from the Ignite or Insight Ignite group, I guess.
Right.
And essentially that is more of a.
Almost like a pyramid scheme.
It's more like a pyramid structure, which essentially the district would become a client of Ignite and then promote its services to its faculty and personnel to also subscribe, and then in turn they would sell Ignite to people, friends and family and so on that they know. And you get the way the structure is set up, you get a whatever, let's say you save by moving from MedEd, or they don't offer it in MedEd, but let's say you move in PICO from 12 cents a kilowatt hour to 6 cents a kilowatt hour in terms of your energy bill by moving to Ignite, then the person who made the transaction happen gets a piece of that savings.
Right.
And then that person, whoever they work under, gets a piece of that person's savings and so forth and so forth. So I think this group came in as a way to say, well, look, one, we want the district to be our client, and then two, the district can then have as many people working under them as possible, and then it would be a revenue generator for the district by promoting this particular vendor. I think the way we left it was, one, they thought the district could participate as a school because I guess private nonprofit institutions were participating in this, and we had to point out to them that we're a publicly funded nonprofit, so we're not really sure whether legally we could even participate if the board wanted to. And then the second part of that was, is this something that the district should be involved in from, I don't know, a PR perspective or ethical perspective, or whatever the case may be? Should we be promoting a certain product and advocating a certain product from which the district receives a financial gain in order to, I don't know, with its constituents? So
Right.
I don't know whether Brian
He weighed in.
in.
He didn't find anything that, from a legal standpoint, he didn't really say it was a no-go, but I think for the other reasons you listed, I would stay away from it.
I think that we had personnel issues, then obviously someone's going to have to manage.
Yeah, I mean, who's doing the selling, who's keeping track of, it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth in terms of, I don't really, look, I'm a big fan of promoting the school and
So I think
looking
it's a little
for,
too close to the school district to do something like that. We had sent her over to Joe Peterson and told her that
I gave her that lead. I don't know if she followed up on it or not.
that would be a better forum, and maybe that'll help, excuse the pun, ignite his.
He planned that,
I
didn't
think
he?
it was between them and the booster organizations, I think that was.
I think it's a better place for it there. So I had sent her the name, and then Dr. Otto followed up and got more contact information for Joe over to her. I think that's kind of.
yeah, foundation or boosters or whoever, I think is the better way to go. I think that's what we had decided that night as well.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And that was probably the majority of that meeting?
We talked
Actually, it was, but we did do some more follow-up on about the program stuff, and well, we have that for tonight anyway.
Okay.
We moved forward, I think. The board said as far as posting a survey, they went ahead and did that, so we've got the results of that.
Great.
Right, I mean, I
All
think
right.
that the balance of it was posting a survey, posting some web pages in terms of what advertisements would look like on there, and in terms of I think the alumni database, like what that interface would look like, and all those things Mr. Jacobs had done. We went to the board, got their approval to do it, and then, here we are, Mr. Jacobs, had put that stuff up on the web.
For tomorrow.
On the adopted program survey, we had 111 responses,
It's actually pretty good.
so 83% were positive. We also said how much money they would be willing to contribute. About half of them were $1 to $50. And then they gave lots of comments. So there's 2 sheets of comments.
Somebody's locked out? Are they locked out?
No, that person's on the left.
Oh, they left, okay.
So you can read what they had to say. Some of it, they say no, but then they seem to give reasons why it would be a good idea. So some of it's conflicted.
Well, here's a good question, would this be in lieu of activity fee? So would we cap that program? So if that value is met, then
I think
that club wouldn't...
There's actually a provision in the revised guideline that says, like the Rotary's the one group that came forward and said,
Right.
if they were willing to pay for it, that we would waive that then for that club.
You wouldn't know that, though, till this could be halfway through the year that...
I don't know if the funds are, the way I always thought about this thing is the
Conceivably
funds aren't
necessary,
necessarily
right.
funds that have to get exhausted in that fiscal year. Somebody could donate money that would say, this will keep a certain program going for the next 2 or 3 years with these donations.
Somebody makes a $10,000 donation to this particular program, then maybe it's funded for 5 years. If it's, if the cost is $2,000 a year. Somebody may also, there's lots of different ways to slice it. In terms of sales, sometimes it's hard to get a big donation, but if you can get somebody to make a smaller donation in perpetuity, hey, how about, we commit you to, $1,000, but it's $100 a year over the next 10 years. Sometimes that's easier for people to swallow too. So, different ways to look at it. My thought process on the activity fee is that this adopt a program and/or somebody's just unanimously stopped, which I think that donation would sort of fall under, the Rotary Club donation would sort of fall over under this sort of framework. Is it so ephemeral? You don't know whether it's going to be there from one year to the next, and so to plan on that is very difficult, whereas like a fee where you can take a look back at enrollment in a particular club or sport or activity may be constant, and you can, depending what your overall enrollment in the school is, it's probably going to be a consistent percentage of that, and you can probably say, well, okay, we can budget around this, we can, and these...
Would we post the fee needed under each, or if there's a way to look at that club or group, that we could post a fee to meet?
Yeah, I think we did, we had that discussion a couple of months back, at the last meeting, but the one prior, about being able to come up with what we think that the cost of running that club is. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
Let's back it up a little bit, because some ideas that we had sort of has to get changed around a little bit as far as someone on your team, Dr. Otto, that could sort of take the reins and help get this thing started. I know we have Mr. Legath in mind at some point, but now we're hoping to fill that slot with someone else. Is there anyone that comes to mind that would help get this thing running?
Not any one individual, it might have to be a collaborative effort. So at this point, I would say that we'd have to search a little further to...
We don't know, of course, we don't know what kind of work this is going to be.
No, I think that the concept of a point personnel is a valid one. It's something that we need to...
We could start off with...
I don't think that it would have meant a lot of work, quote, for Mr. Legath or the athletic director, given that we're looking to change that position to more of a facilitator position. Maybe that person could assume some of that responsibility as the program is smaller, and then maybe if it grew and generated enough revenue, we could actually use some of that funding to find somebody to be a point person. It could potentially be somebody, maybe we start out with a clerical type position just to, to oversee the collection of money and getting notices out and doing whatever it is we need to do.
Was there anyone here at the main office that could just head that off at the beginning and kick it off?
I think to get it started, I don't know where I would exactly put it. I'd have to give that more thought.
All right, well, I mean,
Did
that's...
you read these comments?
Yeah, they're just, it's a venting session, a little bit of a venting session.
Oh, anytime you
Yeah,
put out a
it's,
survey like that.
Yeah. I mean, the ones who say no, they say no for
They're not
other
even
reasons.
talking about it.
They're not, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, has nothing to do with this program. They're complaining about, spending tax money on the football stadium and,
Shame on you for what you did with music. I mean, I'm like, what? I think you need to,
yeah, it's, well,
they're talking about the stadium, they're talking about
You have to expect that. when you-
rising gas prices. I mean, like, I'm just trying to figure out where we're going with, like,
When we did the survey for the advertising in the schools, that was more straightforward. It was right at what we were asking. This is, like I said, some of the answers are no, but then they give reasons for yes.
yeah, right.
It's really mixed. It didn't give me a real
It's American.
clear feeling that they really knew that they were venting.
yeah, it's a venting tool.
Have we decided on how collecting these funds? Are we gonna do checks, or are we gonna go online? I guess that's gonna, you can determine, I guess, what kind of help we need.
Two additional things with this. We approached the Karen Schreiner and the art department to get the logo. Now we had hoped to have it by now, but they've been busy with the art show at the high school. So we expect to have it within the next week or so. But then we went ahead and we modified the original webpage that we had put together. We modified it. We went out and looked around for other schools that were doing this, got some examples, and we posted this information on BlazerNet under school board documents. So it's there. Also, the survey results are there too, so the rest of the board can see them if they want to view them without having a printout. If you're if you log into BlazerNet and you go to school board documents, the adopt a program webpage, the modified version's there. And what we did was we created a page that said, what is adopt a program? Describes what we're trying to accomplish, what are the benefits, the adoptable program, and then we have the form. And on the form, we put in that disclaimer that if the program didn't run, you either can channel your money to some other fund or get your money back. But that's where we left it. Now, that's all centered around send your checks to. You can go any further, like you can pay online or anything like that. But we tried to put together a page that we feel looks pretty good. We'll get.
I actually haven't seen it. I don't have a.
I should have brought a projector. So it has different links to it. And I think we need people to look at it if you have suggestions as to modifications. But I guess the question has always been, how are we going to collect the money? Who's going to, or are we going to allow for charging credit cards? Are we going to just use checks? That's a big question. And then how will Mrs. Penza and the business office, I know they can do it. We've talked to them about it, but we haven't really refined that part. We need to bring the business office into this.
Right, that's some of the other bullets that are on. I have the minutes or some items from the last time we met a couple of months ago. And, that was one of the to-dos that were taken away then was, Dr. Otto, you were going to work with Mrs. Penza to find out, what she would need to put in place and how difficult some of those things would be for her. Does she see any major hurdles or anything that we need to do from her perspective?
No, it's just a matter of setting up an accounting system for it. I think they recommended just bringing it all into one fund and then dispersing it as needed to the different organizations that we would. It's more just making sure it's audited for properly. Then that would probably be the most difficult part of it. But we can begin to accept the money pretty quickly. It's just a matter of putting it all into one fund and having it available for.
We are making a move this summer. Some of the schools that we're switching our point-of-sale system cafeteria from a program called Lunchbox to a program called Meals Plus. And in the Meals Plus, they use a thing called Lunch Pay as their collection device. That also has a component in it that we can collect money for anything, sort of like pay schools. I think it's $1.95 a transaction that would be charged directly to the person that's making the commitment.
So So I don't, the collection of the money, once we launch it, it's more just making sure it gets into the proper accounts for the different clubs, you know.
We could tie the accounts we would tie the accounts into that lunch pay. So if you had an adopter program, we could link right to this page. If someone wanted to charge, they could charge right through that, and we'd pull it right in through the lunch pay, which we're going to pull our money in through for the cafeteria anyway. So we wouldn't have to go out and activate pay school or anything like that. In fact, lunch pay, part of this Meals Plus, we could do this with any organization, like you had suggested, yearbooks and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Of course, the business office has warned me about student activities. The auditor doesn't think that, they think the kids should collect the funds because this is part of the learning process. But other things that, like T-shirts and stuff, if we sold those, we could certainly run that through this lunch pay. So get us out of that pay school and put us into this other account. And I think we can set that up easily. We're going to hopefully make the switch in June. We'll be certainly ready to go.
So people could use a credit card through
Right.
lunch pay?
Any credit card they want. It's very similar to PayPal. It's just a different company. It's linked directly to this Meals Plus program.
That we're already paying for, right? So
Yeah, it's part of it's actually, we got a good deal on the changeover lunchbox. This company we deal with, PCS, kind of got into an argument, and we benefited. It's only cost us like $1,000 to convert, so it's really inexpensive, and it seems like a better product, has nicer interface, and we can do more things with it. So we can link this whole thing, I'm pretty sure we can link this whole thing right through the lunch pack program. So what I need is for you guys to take a look at this page, make recommendations. We try to direct it toward what we're looking for. A lot of the other schools, not only were looking for money, they were looking for volunteers, all kinds of stuff. And we kind of shy away from that.
We talked about that early in the process.
But we certainly could modify it to ask for volunteer time as well.
Yeah, should be on the right, on the bottom right there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, donate your time.
Yeah.
Donate your time.
All right, well, I guess our biggest hurdle here is that we really don't have anyone that we can utilize to kind of dive into the details of this and
Well, I think
execute on it. So,
I would think we would do that collectively to get it started rather than using that as a hurdle.
yeah, I
think
agree.
We can just team it until we get it focused, and then, because if we keep doing that, we'll never move forward with it. So
Well, we
tag team it for now until we get somebody in place.
we'll put it on the web page. That would be the main presence for it, I would assume. Big thing is, how do we get it to the public? We can put it out through the web page. When we make the link, a lot of the funds will come right through the web page. So it may just simply come through technology and link right into the business office.
I think though, where Frank's going with this is somebody's got to, and whether, I don't know how we do this, whether it's as a committee or it's a group of people administratively or whatever, but we need to promote this sort of like within the school district, not only with the students, but with the parents, with the teachers, everywhere, so that people know, and so you got to start a direct mail campaign, there's got to be, email blast, there's got to be, so that this thing gets the publicity that it needs. Students become aware of it. They now this is a way that they can go talk to their parents can get donations from the companies that they work for. There needs to be an education about
Do
it.
a Connect Ed, you know, that information.
Well,
you
I
know what I'm
mean,
saying?
whether it's Connect Ed but it has to be kind of in your face, and Frank talked about this. You have tables set up with some sort of banner on there. You got people manning the tables at events, whether it's a basketball game or it's a school board meeting or it's whatever it is, track meet, anything, band competition, all those things are areas where people can be promoting this. And you have the logo and you have the table, and maybe it's just one table or two tables that we need to have on hand that people just, like a trade show sort of booth that you set up. People drag it out, you set it up, it's there. And
Everywhere, yeah, wherever we have any activities, we'd have this.
School plays.
I think the initial, getting that information out, even this summer, some local papers.
I think
Could you do something with
your big fall sports events, football games and band competitions and things like that. Those
Can
are-
we email with the information
Sure.
that we have on on hand through the parents?
Well, we don't have a listserv for just blasting out to parents. We are developing
Could put it on
listservs
just
for
your
high school
Facebook
guidance and for Burnsboro. Elementary's trying to do some things. I've talked to the admin council today, the other principals, and it's there. You can get parents to sign up. So, but we don't have a clear email blast to everybody in the district. At this point, I mean, we can develop it.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is somebody who's tactical, who dives into the details of each of these things, and without that person identified, we're going to somehow have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, how do you promote? So who's going to be in charge of, coming up with a booth and finding out what the costs are to print all that material out and get those, and have that made and ready so that students or groups, music boosters or whoever, are manning these things. Who mans the booth? Is it students? Is it volunteers? Is it board members? Is it parents? I think we need to talk about, does somebody handle the technology aspect of it? Are you going to create a separate Facebook page just for Adopt a Program, and so that person's going to be making sure that email blasts are going out and ... Someone else is going to do a direct mail campaign, where you're sending letters out. I mean, I get this stuff all the time from the schools my kids go to. I mean, I open up a letter, it's from the school, and it's, hey, you got to give to this teacher's retirement fund that they're putting together to help, whatever, pay for something that the school needs. Or, it's, I was just at another auction a week ago. That was, the parents kind of ran the whole thing, and it was a huge success. I think they raised $100,000 in one night. So, but people have to take charge of those things. You have to have these committees that are being formed by parents or by faculty or whoever who grab this and say, okay, I own this part of it, and I'm going to report back to whatever the overall committee is and on what steps I've taken and how we're moving this thing forward. So maybe we can brainstorm about who those people need to be, what different aspects of that promotion are.
Well, key, I guess, probably, we need to get that artwork, the banner, get established with some kind of banner. We can put a table together, and then obviously we have Birdsburg, I believe, has a carnival or street fair coming up in the next couple months. So we have that. We have the one over in Amity. That's later in the summer, but I hate to see mailers go out, and there's a cost to that, where
I think
papers are going to be.
I think that's the other part of this is that the district, obviously in the budget crisis that we're in, it doesn't make this any easier, but, you're not going to be able to do this for free, right? There's going to be some cost to print material, to, put a booth together or whatever, and I think it's low cost, but, I don't know what it costs to put, if you're going to do mailers, you're going to do direct mail and things of that nature, what's the mailing list? It doesn't cost much to put print something up in Word, but once you send it to a printer and they print 1,000 of these things, and then you get the bulk postage and all that kind of stuff, there's a cost.
We have some people manning a table even at Redner's on a weekend. That would be the majority of school parents.
Looking ahead to September or late August, when the kids come back to school, having a brochure that goes home with papers that go home, the parents have to fill out, would be another approach to it as well. That way you would get it in every household.
Well, let's start just chipping away at this.
Even a brochure with report cards at the end of the year or something that they take home at the end of the year. Maybe they don't want to do report cards, but
Right.
whatever goes out.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the elementary students take the report cards home. The middle school and high school, they're sent home. So we can
I think the
hand
best
them out that way.
approach from a time standpoint would be to try to gear up for the opening of a new school year. I think to do something now at the end of the school year, when people are thinking, everybody's kind of, their back is turned now, and they're not thinking about school for a couple months. But when they start turning their backs away or back, toward us, that's the time to hit them sometime in August when they start thinking about school again, when band camp starts, when football practice starts, when all the full sports practices start. People are starting to think about school. frankly, the budget will be solved and all that'll have worn off, and hopefully people will be in a little bit better mood to want to give some money.
Well, when is that? When do people come back? Is that the
It's like
third week of August,
It's
second
like,
week of August?
I would bullet around
We have,
August
there's
15th.
open houses for orientation.
Yeah, but August 15th, the band and the football teams and all the sports
So
teams start.
there's your
coming.
deadline, and we need to be working backwards from there.
I don't remember because I'm a walker now, but when the bus stuff goes out, is that an envelope or is that just a postcard? Do you know?
That
That probably is out from the bus company.
Yeah, I think the bus company now. they
I was
took
wondering if
over
it was an
that.
envelope.
Some of
I
the
mean, you wouldn't be able to
teachers
hit
have emailed their
everybody.
students. I've had that comparison with their room, and, that'd be a little tough to have to get some stuff to teachers and have them, they send a letter, you have for a flyer.
Mrs. Hamlin's.
I'm sorry?
Mrs. Hamlin's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, are you allowed to use the phone numbers? Because when you get like a bomb scare or something,
So I
everybody
said to
call
connect
for the
that.
whole
Yes, we would be.
Yeah,
I didn't know
we
if you were
control
allowed to
that.
use- Oh, okay. You could change the message, and
Right, you can tailor any message that you want.
because that would hit.
That would get everybody very quickly.
Right.
And that's not something that you pay additional for, I'm assuming.
No, it's not.
You subscribe to that service.
We subscribe to that service and that,
So I know
Like
the
the word
school
out there
districts
without a
use that, I think it's in Downtown, but they utilize that for a lot more than what we do. I mean, for announcements of big school board meetings.
Right.
Or events and, just activities. So they definitely use it. And a lot of people also use more text messaging. I don't know if there's a way to capture cell phone numbers, and again, at registration,
Right.
your contact forms, most people have cell phones now, so cell phone readership is, email readership is probably down, and text messaging readership is up, so.
There is a text component to the Blackboard Connect that we use. We have a lot of cell phones in the system already.
Is
I
there an
really
email
think the
component to that
Connect
too, or is
needs
it
to be
just
part of our
phone? Do you know, is there an email to the Connect Ed as well, or is it just phone?
There's email, there's
Because I was
phone.
wondering, maybe in the beginning of the year when you collect that stuff, you could, ask for any or all, or how can we get messages out to you, which would you prefer?
The person that sends the message has the choice of what they want to go with. So most of the time, they apparently just choose
Right.
voice, but there is an email component, there is a text as well.
'Cause I know a lot of municipalities use them too for snow emergencies, or we're closing the street for whatever, and they allow people to sign up with, however they want it, email or text, or,
Well, I've been looking at some different applications too. One of them is geared towards the parents. The parents can actually sign up for how they want to receive the message. One that we're using currently doesn't have that feature.
okay.
But our contract with Blackboard Connect runs out in October. So I'm looking at another vendor
but I think they're gonna have their hands.
that
Right.
they do have that component, so we may.
Until they do, I
make
think
this
we
switch.
ought to just go to a plan.
I like that feature, that the parent had control of how they
Right.
receive information.
Right, because some people want email, some people want phone, and some people text, and,
I think whatever form, the Connect Ed really needs to be part of the kickoff. It's the quickest, cheapest way in this
Right.
district to get to
No, I
everybody in a
agree.
flash. I wouldn't recommend it be the only way. They say in communication, you should find at least 5 different methods of communicating with people to get your message across, so that could be one.
Right. In an effort to just get it kick-started here, how about we jot down a couple of I don't want to say small, how about we jot down a couple of high-level tasks, and maybe we can start assigning those tasks out to various people.
Okay?
And then they can come
Makes
back
sense.
and report back. So one of the things, for example, is just the creation of the signage and banners, which includes identifying locations in the various schools where these signs will go. So how many signs we'll need.
You mean like
where we're-
advertisements, like posters?
Yeah, poster signs. And then in addition to that, some creation and identifying banner-type signs that would be used at events. So if there's somebody, and I don't know if that's Mrs. Schreiner or someone else, but if there's someone who can own that task of saying, I'm going to identify where we're going to put signs, how we're going to put them out in the school, what they're going to look like, and getting them done.
Well, we would need to get that logo. Is she done with that logo yet?
With the art show, they didn't get it finished. We were hoping hoping to have it for tonight and have it into the webpage, but she's not finished yet, but I expect to have it. I was hoping by the end of next week. Time's wasting, the kids are going to be leaving very soon.
Right. So does that sound like a reasonable task to assign out to someone?
Yeah, as soon as we get the vote,
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll send it to this group, so you can take a look at it. If you just give me a vote back, yeah, I like this, or no, I think it stinks.
Because I think it'd be helpful if someone came back to us and said, look, I did the analysis and I looked around and we're going to put up 200 signs, and those 200 signs are going to go in these schools, in these locations, or wherever they go, and we're going to, we'd like to suggest having 2 banners, 5 banners, 10 banners, and we're going to use them in these events, activities that are planned within the school.
Probably want to have a banner at each school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minimum. And in some schools, more than one.
And then as a separate task to that, I also have down someone who can identify the various ways of getting the word out. I mean, we talked about Connect Ed. Someone who can identify all the planned school activities. We know we've got school board meetings on certain dates, and we know we've got other activities happening in the school, that if those things are scheduled and someone brings us that list of when all these activities are happening, we can determine how we can have some kind of presence at those activities.
Well,
School calendar should be pretty well.
what we do is we can take the school calendar, which is, when do we start getting the data for next year for that? That's usually printed well before school,
Published in August.
published early August, so we'll be in the process of, principals have to
I
submit
think we
to us.
don't, when do we vote on that? When do we vote
No,
on
you
that
don't
with the
vote on
board?
that. No, that's just your working calendar.
Right.
But the calendar that we send out to the community, the one that we print, that has band concert, this, that, the other, all the year major community-type events, including school board meetings, are listed on there. We don't put the committee meetings because of the way they move, but the major events in the district are all right on one document.
Can we do something in the calendar too? We'll blur in the calendar.
Yeah, I think advertising in our own calendar is a big help.
Well,
That's
you know,
true.
we
One
could
of those
make the
goes to everyone.
theme, we could actually make the theme of the calendar. Usually what we do with the calendar is,
You could adopt a program, and each month is a different program, or, featured program to,
you can make the whole theme of the calendar adopt the program.
Right. That'd be a nice idea.
Let me talk to the person that does the calendar for us.
And if you can find some folks to divvy out some of this work to, I realize it's just looking through the calendar and stuff, but it starts getting them involved and gets them in the loop.
Oh, there's no other way to get it done, right?
So,
Yeah.
It'd be helpful.
I'll take the responsibility for assigning tasks.
And then the other task is, and obviously I think this is Mr. Jacobs, is just getting the website functioning to the point where it can be used once, once we have these other things in place.
And again, with the school board, they'll have to, I guess, give us the final okay to put the webpage out and start moving forward.
Right. They gave us the okay to continue moving forward with this
Correct.
program and do the things we need to do. And the next step for us would be to want to turn the switch on. And once we turn the switch on, we'll present it back to the board at that point. But I don't think there's anything else that's standing in our way of getting there,
I mean,
getting to that point.
obviously, if the lunch pay program launches in June, and if we have personnel to handle this program, we can put all this live end of June.
Yeah.
The target date was the beginning of school.
Yeah, I mean, that's a target date, but I think we, obviously we need to get a prototype up and,
I mean, we'll move toward that.
Yeah.
But as far as getting the lunch pay online, connecting it in, that's going to take us.
I mean, if August 15th is kind of the target date, we effectively have 3 months.
I think that's reasonable.
You can get your brochures and try to get, if you want to do that, take it home with the kids. You can get into during the summer months, make the calendar with the
I'd like the chance
program
to solicit
theme.
some student volunteers to help in this as well. I mean, I think there's always kids, as evidenced by the kids that participated on the database for the
Alumni.
alumni. I think you'd be surprised at the people that would actually volunteer.
It'd be great to have the
They're
kids
just waiting to be asked.
Yeah.
That's my sense.
Yes?
Sorry. To get the kids involved, I was thinking, because I know they wear these wristbands and they go to these special places online to make wristbands, and you can make Adopt a Program wristband.
It's a good
Because I know
idea.
my kids, they were selling them, and what they did was went on Facebook and they were showing them, and then they tell them how much money it was, and then you buy a wristband, and then the money goes toward Adopt a Program. And
Kids mobilize quick these days,
kids,
you're absolutely
my
right.
kids do it all the time. My son does
Facebook and
YouTube.
Twittering and,
And if they get a wristband that shows Adopt a Program, and maybe the program they adopted on the other side or something, they're not very expensive to make, and they sell them for like $5 a pop, and they purchase them for like $1.50.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a great
it's just
idea.
something that the kids might be able to really get into. That might help pass the word.
Sure.
That's a great idea.
I just think the kids' efficacy with social media these days, and we don't tap that source, I think we're missing a valuable resource.
Yeah.
Try to get something like this started.
Yeah.
They'll be the ones that'll go home and say something to their parents, it's not the other way.
That's why I think once you get the signage out there that's in the school, you get the faculty to kind of understand what this initiative is, what we're trying to do, and they in turn get the kids excited, and it can start rolling, at that point. But we need somebody tactically making this stuff happen, making that start, getting that started. And again, that's us for now.
Well, I think Mr. Jacobs and I are going to be your tactical team for the time being. I don't see any other.
One other item that's a little bit tougher of a task. Do we want to target a couple of these programs and try to put some kind of dollar figure out there of what we're hoping to raise? I know it's going to be very difficult to say what each of these programs actually cost to run in a short period of time. So do we want to just to put some kind of number out there, and then we can have a ticker saying how much was raised?
I guess what I'm thinking is more, maybe you do it globally, in the sense that, I'm just thinking of given the feedback here and what we got from the public, I guess my concern is, and I'm sure shared it with the board internally, is, the whole finger-pointing stuff that we kind of witnessed over the last 5 months from the public, in the sense of, don't cut mine, cut his type of thing. And this program, we're really trying to bring everybody together collectively and saying, look, this is for the benefit of everybody, right? And so I worry that, maybe it's a false worry, but I'm a little concerned that if you put a price tag next to every single line item on there, I don't want people using that then as a weapon to say, well, this program gets, costs how much, and these guys get how much more money than we do, and that's my only concern. So maybe if it was Birdsboro building, needs X number of dollars, or technology, we're looking for X number of dollars, or athletics, it's X number of dollars, as opposed to each athletic sport. I mean, I just won't want people using this as a weapon to
Some fees you're going to see.
to bash.
It's going to be an indicator of
Another-
starting.
Well, the other
Right.
issue is the way this form is set up. It's kind of like a United Way model, where they ask you, well, I'll give my money to this, but no, I want to give it to the Birdsboro Y, or I want to give it to the, Women in Crisis Center, or this or that. What if most of our people wind up giving it to that top donation, and it's just a general contribution to the program? We have to really decide then, we have to have an internal mechanism, in my opinion, to decide how we're going to divvy out those funds. We don't yet, because we don't know what the contribution rate is going to be. So,
Would we be better off maybe even for the first year, something setting just a general goal of an amount? we're
That's
trying to
where I was-
reach through the
that's
adopted
where I was
program?
going with that.
Maybe it's 50, 100,
Yeah.
and you just show the thermometer that instead of, because we have no idea what we're gonna,
I would hate to see that we get one person that donates to boys lacrosse and it's $50, and then everybody else is, you know what I mean? They're either getting nothing
You put
or.
an indicator of a need versus a full funded program, dollar amount.
I mean, eventually we have to address that issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
next
and I think
December, January.
You're going to have people donate, obviously, based on what we're trying to do. They're going to pick a program. They're not going to go up there and say, well, I'm just going to throw it at the general contribution.
More than likely, you're right.
So-
I would tend to agree with that, but we do have that we do have that category in there where someone would say, you know what, someone might look at this and go, I like all of these things because I just really support what kids do, I'm going to give the district $1,000.
Yeah, I think
Where
you
does that
guys
go?
see some of that. I think those people that are really in the weeds, and have their particular special interests are going to donate towards that. Those that are sort of out of the box, maybe a little bit more removed from Daniel Boone, are going to do, as Dr. Otto indicated, like, I'm an alumni, I've been out of the school for 10 years, I live in California, but, I support my school, so I'm going to write a check and just send it to you. You guys decide what the best way to spend that
Unless we
is.
could put a link, and then they could click on that, and like you say, you can see the middle school. We could just list a number, high school, a number, not individual, separate and highlight certain areas after.
Yes, even if you break it down by athletics or music or arts, I mean, you've even seen how, they're pitting themselves against each other in all the extracurriculars. And, I mean, maybe on one hand, it's good because it increases competition to donate towards
I don't know
the
how easy
program.
it would do, rather than maybe saying how much money we want or think we should have. It might be a good idea if we could, I don't know if it's technologically very easy, just say you would, you know how sometimes when you roll your mouse over something, a bubble lights up and it tells you a little bit more about the program? You could have a little paragraph in that bubble saying, well, our football team plays 15 games a year, blah, blah, blah. These are some of the costs, these are some of the, just a very, very general kind of description of the program that somebody might say, you know what, that sounds like they need some help or some money. I don't know how technologically easy that is.
Well, it would take a lot of time.
Okay.
Well, they can at least hit an info button in the meantime, instead of,
Another thing you can do with the donations, if you could put a page on the Adopt a Program website where contributed to date, baseball, band, and just keep a running total, and people can see what was contributed. You're not really saying how much you want them to contribute, you're saying how much has been contributed. That may foster a little competition, I don't know.
True,
yeah.
that's true.
I think they're going to want to see that. Anybody who donates money to a specific program, they're going to want to go in there and see how well it's doing.
I think that's...
I like that idea more so. We want $2,000 and we've got $10. That kind of makes you feel like.
That way you don't have people call and say, hey, well, we gave money, we didn't see it. So,
Okay.
You think it runs into a problem where if you did have an amount for a program and you reached that amount, that people would stop to give?
You might have
It
that.
might.
or-
Right,
And they say, oh, well, they're good,
Right.
don't need my money.
right. Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely need to show how much has been donated to date. Whether or not we set a goal number is another story. But the only reason I brought that up is because I could see us sitting here, hopefully, sitting here in next December, January, and people coming up and saying, well, how much did you guys raise in the Adopt a Program for, and they'll be very specific, middle school volleyball. And we need to answer that question. We're going to need to answer that question. And if we're, hopefully not, but if we're talking about some kind of budget cuts, we're going to need to factor in how much money, if money was raised for that particular program to save it.
I think it's an excellent idea, and I think what he suggested is a good way of accomplishing that. It's on the website, and that answers that question, right? So if I make a donation, I know I can see the little
It answers
bar.
part of that question.
Yeah.
It answers how much was saved or raised.
How much was
Doesn't it-
raised
doesn't
for
say
that program.
whether or not it's enough to save the program.
It doesn't answer that question,
right.
but it answers the first
It
part
gives
of
you a
it.
talking point, though. You can reference that if you look at the Adopt, you can see how much we've got. We need more than this, so, why don't you go out and contribute?
Right. No,
And
that
if we
sounds
don't need it
good.
this year, we're going to need it next year, or the year after,
Or the year after.
after that. So,
So, Dr. Otto, it's another task. Could you see if you can identify someone who can help write some narratives for these various programs? And then Mr. Jacobs could possibly put it up on the internet.
Sure.
I guess the next question, which Dr. Otto raised, which we should probably, we don't have to think about tonight, but we should put our thinking caps on it in general, is, and maybe we just need to call other schools, private schools that do this, because they have that other box. Like, do you want to go to athletics, do you want to go to academics, or do you want it to go just to the general school? How do the administrators then decide how that money is going to be spent? I don't think maybe in the private schools it's just top down, this is where we need it, and that's where it goes. But they obviously deal with that issue, and maybe we need to adopt whatever it is, whatever methodology they use. That would be the easiest thing, as opposed to, 9 board members trying to figure out, how $5,000 is going to be split, because everyone's going to have a different opinion about how that should go, and that may not be the easiest thing. And who determines what needs it more? You know what I mean? Like, I think,
Maybe you don't go with it, maybe it's just a flat, 25% goes to
break it down by
education,
subject.
25% goes to sports or athletics, 25% goes to music, and 25% goes to art. Or so, I mean, maybe you just have it that way, maybe, because if you get into who needs it more,
I guess there's more limitations
Or what
in a
you
private
think.
school method. I mean, because, they need a new gym floor. Well, they just take the money from that and they say, well, we need a new gym floor. There it goes. You know what I mean? Or if we need new computers and we don't have the money for what we need, then the money goes there. They don't necessarily have the budgets that this school district does or others.
I don't.
I think we could tap some schools that have a pretty solid, because a lot of this parallels what educational foundations are supposed to do and do, because they get general contributions from people and they decide how to divvy up their money, and they kind of create a budget as to, give a grant to this program or give a grant to that program, or teacher grants, or, because I remember when I was in North Penn, they would say they got a $15,000 donation, and the Ed Board, the foundation, would say, well, we're going to offer $150 grants to 4th grade science teachers for kids to go out in a field and do X project. And then they would have the kids come back and present it to the foundation. Everybody thought that was pretty cool. And it was a way to, to kind of justify why you were taking the money in ways, to make good use of the foundation. So that's just another angle to look at this from. That I don't know that many districts are doing anything like this, but many districts obviously do have ed foundations that structure their foundations to do some of what we're suggesting to do. I think the adopt a program catchphrase is very good, but at the end of the day, it's really about, it's kind of a fundraising type of activity that we're engaging in.
Well, specifically to help save these programs, so
right.
for the time being at least.
Well, save them, promote them. I mean, it's really kind of a dual purpose. Because given that some of them probably will stay on board, I would still hope that people might want to contribute to them so that we can actually go above and beyond some of the things that we may have not been able to do before. Like, I'm just thinking of, maybe we can fund a couple assembly programs under this one that talk about the dangers of drinking and driving, or, whatever it might be, or bullying in the elementary school. You know what I'm saying? It could be any list of different things.
Right.
And I would want to think that even though it's not going to save a program, there might be some people interested. We might get a check from somebody who says, look, my son was bullied when he was in school. I don't ever want to see other kids doing that here. I'm going to give you $1,000. I want you to bring in a guest speaker for bullying.
Yeah, we could target some of these programs, like you had mentioned, each month through various things. Let's say we target a program we put it on the calendar for the month of whatever, January. And in the month of January, we change the website to kind of feature that program. And we feature that program out on Facebook. And we feature that program in various places. So we could bring some...
It's a way to keep it current 12 months throughout the year.
Right. And maybe we have that set up every month where we're featuring one of these various programs. Not the standard ones like that are listed there,
Right.
but the ones like you said. These kind of off-the-wall.
Well, like,
type
for
things.
example, week before the prom last Friday, we had that reenactment of the DUI. Then they must be, I have to be quite honest, I'm not really sure how that gets funded. It must be in somebody's budget somewhere, or it's either volunteer. Do you know how they do that?
I think it's volunteer
The
stuff.
students.
Douglasville Auto
Or it might be,
bought a car,
might
and
be
someone else
Students
bought a
Against
car.
Drunk Driving. Do we
I
have
think
that club?
Yeah.
Dane arranges it, I'm not sure.
Mr. Miller does it, so I'm not really sure how it happens.
I think SAD does works with
Yeah.
it, and I think a lot of it's, I know my daughter asked that question, how come it's $20,000 to fly the helicopter when you get in an accident, but it came to the school for free? Because they're trying to avoid coming to the accident for 20 grand. They don't really want that business. But I mean, I think it is a great educational tool.
You gotta get
That
her
got
in the
good
REC.
coverage.
Yeah,
Good coverage in the newspaper.
The way she thinks.
I think the Reading Eagle sent somebody down and took pictures of it. They
Yeah.
usually do that every year.
Yeah, they do it every year. Yeah.
I actually went down, I didn't go, I have a chance this year, but I've been down to the reenactment.
And I forgot
Really
they
well
did it.
done.
I would have liked to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always the Friday of the
Yeah,
prom.
and
or
I
is it the
wasn't
day before?
thinking, but
Is it that day or is it the day of?
It's Friday.
I think it was
It's the
Friday.
day of. Keep it fresh in everybody's mind.
All right, so we've got a couple at least small tasks that we can start moving
I
on.
think that's a month's worth.
I'll send you the write-up of what kind of our
Okay.
tasks are,
All right,
just so it
well,
doesn't get lost in your.
No, I haven't jotted down, but that would be helpful.
Anything else on this before we move on adopt a program?
I liked the, I mean, I liked how the website's
Yeah,
set up.
so do I.
I think that's nice.
Yeah.
The benefits in it.
When are we
the
gonna give that
pictures, it looked nice.
approval then?
We'll report out Monday at the board meeting. It's not on the agenda.
The approval for what? To go live with it?
Well, as far as the site, and we're obviously gonna continue on, is there a way we can get the vote that this part has been completed? We could put it out there just for viewing at this point?
Well, I think
It is available to all.
it's
board.
available right now for all
Just for
board
the
members to
board,
look
but I
at,
mean, as far as
so
public.
Intranet, it's not internet yet.
I think the board on Monday night, as part of our voting meeting, we go through all the different committees and what they have to report.
Right.
And REC can, at that point, report that the website's up there for feedback, and we need the board to look at it and get feedback, so that if nobody has any feedback and they're happy with it.
Give a
then-
deadline, though.
Then we have
By this time.
a live date, so I think probably the latest deadline would be by the committee of the whole meeting, or probably, I would say, by the next REC meeting, which is going to be the second
It's
Wednesday
early
of the
this
month.
month.
Because the sooner we can get this, even for the public, just to view, not to
The
get in there
8th,
and
June 8th.
participate, at
Right.
least you're gonna be curious and say, okay, when can we maybe give? So,
All right, I'll get something together that I can present to the board.
So we meet on the 8th, and the board meets on the 13th.
Correct.
So I would say that the board has to get back to the REC committee before the 8th.
Well, they'll have enough
With
notice.
feedback, I mean,
Yeah.
crying out
Plenty of
loud,
notice.
that's 2 weeks.
There's plenty of notice.
Have a look at it and provide some feedback, so.
All right, great. Talking about fundraisers, we have with us Mr. Smith, who had a couple of ideas he wanted to share with us regarding some fundraiser.
All right, it's funny that you mentioned, you had someone here that was speaking about a program, and I think you mentioned it was what you referred to as a pyramid. I don't like to use the word pyramid, but cause marketing is a term I like to use. But the plan that I have is probably similar in premise to what you've heard already, and I heard you say that maybe it was something that maybe needs to be discussed with another area. So before we really get started, I mean, I can just cover some high points, or you can let me know if it's something that you want to. It's not. I think they were energy per se, or
Yeah, it was an energy company.
Yeah, it was energy. You have a similar idea with
it's
the energy?
similar in nature, but
Let's hear it.
I'm
Yeah.
okay to hear it. I mean, I know you do it.
we'll go through it real quick.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mistake there.
Thanks.
The program is actually called Links to Funds, and again, on the second page of the submission statement, basically talks about the fact that this is an opportunity to use it as a fundraising program that would help provide organizations such as yourself a way to do two things: earn some money on two different occasions, up front as well as on a residual nature. So that means over and over again, which is a good thing, especially if we're talking about utilizing this maybe for a particular cause. Maybe it's, you want to, redo, some landscaping on part of the building. Or maybe it's, to repaint a certain room. And if you had a particular cause in place, It's really however you market it, however you want it to go out is what it can be. So you'll see on the next page there, really it's a pretty easy, simple way to implement a fundraising program. And the basic premise is that what we would do is offer up an opportunity for your staff, employees, obviously parents as well, a way to help your school out by doing things that they do already. And in this case, it's everyday services, and we'll talk about what some of those services are. The next page talks about who's eligible. It goes in to say that any nonprofit 501c3. I heard you mention that as a school board, you may or may not have a 501c3 designation. I'm not exactly sure how it's classified. Particularly, it could maybe be a component of the school district, a particular foundation. You could run it through a particular foundation if you didn't have a 501c3 designation as a whole. The second bullet point just talks about some of the common participants are, things like churches and schools and different community organizations, sports youth groups, or something that we're looking at targeting. And I'm going to try to work with some of the animal groups. The next page, it gives a little background on the company. It talks about we've been around for about 10 years now. We've experienced a lot of growth. We've been featured in Inc. 500 magazine for a number of years. Headquarters out in New York. The company itself, the parent company is 5 Links, but Global Links is a component of it. Links to Funds is a component of it. So there's different subcomponents to the actual 5 Links company is the actual name of the corporation. And it is based on a direct sales business model, similar to an Avon, Mary Kay, where you benefit from services that others provide or do, and they in turn can benefit if they in turn wanted to pass the information along and have some other folks join in as well. So, I hate to use the word pyramid, but a lot of companies, a lot of people are familiar with that term pyramid. A lot of people get rich off of pyramids. Some are more legitimate than others, but I guess that's the best way to put it. Next page, it talks about some of the benefits of the program. Again, it's a way to offer to your supporters, and whoever that is. It's the people in the room right now, it's parents, it's teachers, faculty, staff. A way to save some money on services that we use every day. It's also a way to help generate sustained revenue each month. Because as people continue to stay with the program, a certain portion of that comes back to your cause each and every month. It could be a one-time fundraising effort that may generate short-term capital, or it could be a longer-term project. 2 or 3 years out, you may have a goal in mind that you need to raise X amount of money for. Perhaps it's a program. It could tie into the adoptive program philosophy as well. So the next page, you'll see different products and services, and this is where it kind of gets into the differentiation from maybe some of the other programs that are out there today. The services that we provide or that we would offer out to your customer base would be some things like DirecTV and Dish Network. So if people are interested in switching maybe from one of those companies to the other, or from a cable service to a satellite service, that would qualify under the program. The different cell phone carriers here are listed, so as people upgrade their cell phones or maybe switch from one carrier to the next, maybe a teenager gets his own plan or whatever those different ways are. There's a component that's one of our flagship products is the Global Links, which is a voice-over internet phone system. The trend is that majority of people are switching away from a traditional landline, moving over to more of a Global Links or our version of both, but a voice-over system, which also allows you to make calls to your internet at one low-cost price per month. And it's an unlimited plan. It covers all your local long distance, as well as up to 75 different countries. Again, there's a big trend right now for change there. The other component is a home security piece. So as people are looking to protect their homes and maybe switch companies, there's a component there as well. The next page here talks about how will we implement such a program. The example here, and this is not something that has to be, but there's an example here of a 90-day action plan program. where we talk about 3 phases, each in 30-day increment. The first talks about reaching out and maybe obtaining your first 100 customers. And a customer could be a person who buys multiple services. So I could be a customer and change my traditional home phone service over to get global links. I may also want to get home security and upgrade my phone. That would count as 3 customers. So one person could account for multiple services. Okay? So we talked about in the first 30 days, 100-point club. The second phase is in hopes are that as people start to join into our program, they would then in turn talk to friends and relatives and neighbors about our program and share with them some of the good things that we're doing as a way to help, again, bring additional money in from our program. Okay. So we would hope that in the next 30 or 60 days or so that we would see some of that word of mouth type free advertising. And then the last is perhaps we get to a point where we're successful at the program. We want to share with other local or neighboring school districts or other communities that maybe you're involved in outside of here. So, and again, the premise is that as we would join on other people or people were joining under us, then again, some of those benefits would come back to the school district. Okay. The next page, again, it kind of goes into just the first phase, which is, again, is the first 30 days. When you mention the 100-point club again, it starts to get into some of the revenue. We'll see that on the next couple of slides. But up here it talks about if we were to obtain 100 customers in that time frame, there would be a $1,000 bonus paid out. It goes on to mention this $200 per month. This particular product here, the voice over phone, if people were to choose that as their option, the organization would receive $2 for every customer. Okay, so at 100 customers, we come up with 200 customers, or $200 a month. Each and every month that a customer pays their bill. Okay, so again, if we're doing things that we already are comfortable with, maintaining our bills and services, we could benefit from those actions. The next phase, phase 2, talks about the second 30 days of the meet and 3 customer circle. Again, it goes on to say, perhaps our customers or our, parents, teachers, whoever, may want to reach out and mention this to other individuals. And then they decide, yep, you're right, that's a good idea. I was going to change my cell phone from, Sprint to Verizon anyway. Why not help you out? I'll go along with the program. The fees are the fees. They still continue to pay those companies. We don't receive any money. There's no product that we stock, so it's little to no work on our end. Okay. The next page, it talks about paying it forward. And again, that's, talks about reaching out to some other organizations, again, who may want to benefit or take a look at the program that, we've been running for a while here. It talks about, you can raise some additional money. It talks about a 20% override on the actions of the other individual groups. Next page here, again, it kind of goes into a little bit more, talks about the 3 different phases here. Just an example, on the first, it talks about the 100 club, again, and that was $1,000 up front for reaching your 100 customers. And then there's additional money based on the residual over 12 months. You'll see that the numbers can start to increase as we bring on more customers underneath your structure. The next page really talks about the additional bonuses there. And this is where the program could really be lucrative if it was marketed well and it really caught on and people really saw the value in it. You'll see there's different bonus levels here that we could achieve. So obviously the more customers and the more the program could expand, the more beneficial it could be. Again, this could be a particular cause. So maybe our cause is we need, $5,000 to do X, Y, and Z. Here's a way to help us achieve that. Next couple of pages is kind of some summary things here. Again, it reiterates the fact that it's a pretty simple program to get started. It's a fundraising program. Provides organizations the opportunity to produce some extra revenue that could be used, at your discretion. Offers 2 components. The one time upfront, which is the bonus money from attaining a certain amount of customers. really where the money is. I mean, that's sustainable, and that's really what you want to see. So the last one just talks about how we would get started if you get to that point. A couple things about it, if we did decide to go with this, a website would be, generated, so everything would be managed from the website. We could track the amount of customers that were coming in. We can track the dollar amount, so, and that's something that wouldn't be a cost. The other thing is that this is a no-cost program. As a 501c3 charitable organization, it wouldn't be a charge to get started. You can also end at, which point you decide to end. So it's not a huge commitment. So it's kind of the program there. I mean, there's some Q&A that I have here, if you want, I can leave with you. And I don't know if you have any general questions. Like I said, I know you heard some parts of this probably from our previous presenter. But this is a real program. I mean, the company is established. It's well documented. Success Magazine, Inc. 500 for a number of years, experienced a ton of growth over the past year. So hopefully those won't be the things that stop you from moving forward. Now obviously I understand if it's something that it's not going to work for the district or maybe even a subcomponent of it. But
I think it's interesting. I mean, this is a little bit different than the Ignite in the sense that there's no cost to. I mean, the Ignite you had to pay an upfront cost to build a website and do whatever, get some promotional literature, and then from there, you went and promoted this thing. And I think one of my reservations, I did direct sales when I was in college. It's one of the ways I paid for school. So I don't have a problem with a quote-unquote pyramid structure.
right.
It was very beneficial to me to pay for some of my classes. So I kind of look at this from a different perspective in the sense that Ignite, you were encouraging people to switch from one program to another, one carrier to another, and then there was an incentive to do so. And if this is a little bit more passive, and I'm just throwing this out there, if it's more passive, like if you were to switch for whatever your reasons, from cable to dish or Verizon to wherever, then do it through us, because there is a benefit then to the district to do it. Maybe that's a little bit more palatable. I don't know.
Let me ask a question. Is this similar? We keep using the word pyramid because it's what we're familiar with. Is this similar in that if we were to sign up 100 customers and those 100 customers signed up 100 customers, does any revenue come back to us?
Yes, you would reap some of the benefits from that as well.
So that structure is sort of the same. I kind of think that it's a little scary for the school districts to be so closely connected to these types of programs, but I think the foundation is the perfect place to do these things. Now, our foundation hasn't been thriving at all. We all know that. We all continue to say that. But forget about that. The mechanism of having that foundation is exactly what these types of things, this is where these things belong. So we still reap the benefit of these through the school district, but we're not so connected to it that we may be liable for anything that could happen, which I'm not saying there would be anything, but if something ever did happen, it's kind of run through the foundation, not directly through the school district. It seems to me like that's the perfect place for these types of things. Not to get off that subject specifically, but can you give us a quick update on when does the foundation meet? Have they met recently? And
I'm going to be as honest and as blunt as I can. They're kind of off the radar for me. I have heard no communication. I have initiated some contact. The last contact I had with them was to inform them that if they were going to cease to be a viable organization, that I was going to move their website link off of our front page. And since that, I have had no real takeover. I have had no conversation or input or inkling of what they are up to or doing.
should we reach out to Joe Peterson and say, listen, let's have a discussion on where you're going with this
If you're not
thing?
interested in doing this, can we get somebody else that is, or?
And if we do, who does that?
Okay, so I think my only concern here is,
I can handle that part of it. I just want to do it with authorization.
What officers are there now? I mean, obviously the
They are
responsibilities
in,
that,
I just have to be careful what I say. They're a little bit disorganized right now.
Well, yourself and who? Mrs. Facette?
Well, Mrs. Facette.
Are
No,
representatives?
I'm the board representative.
Oh, you're the representative, okay.
And they haven't contacted me. Well, I became a new board representative in December, and an email was sent from Mrs. Facette to the foundation saying that I was the new, whatever, and all correspondence to be directed to me. I didn't hear anything from anybody on that list. I sent them an email saying, please contact me.
We made a push at
It's
the end of
been
last
5
year.
months and haven't heard.
Once the budget season started, we kind of backed off because our time's been taken with, dealing with the budget.
Well, the foundation, look, the school district, a board member, I'm sorry to keep you up on this, Bob, but, a school board member and the superintendent are part of the overall board of the
We're ex
foundation.
officio officers.
Only in an advisory sort of capacity. They don't have a vote, they don't have anything. We just sort of sit there and listen to what's being said and provide input from the school's perspective so that the foundation gets a sense of what the school's needs are and how the school may weigh in on what the foundation.
And we
is
help
doing.
promote.
And help promote, right. But there's been no communication from the foundation to the district to even invite us to a board meeting. And my recollection is, according to their bylaws,
They have not scheduled a meeting, and
they haven't had a meeting since September.
when there may have been one meeting
Do
this
they
school
do
year.
they have any funds?
I think they had like a couple
Scant
$100.
funds. They may be under $1,000.
When was the time for election?
Well, so I think that's what I was getting
That's
to,
all
is
come and
the
gone.
foundation's
It's kind of a defunct.
bylaws require them to meet so many,
Right.
once every so many months, and I think they've exceeded that. So in and of itself, I think it's defunct. And there were issues with the bylaws in and of themselves that they were trying to resolve in terms of election of officers and all that kind of stuff, which they weren't following either. So it was...
Do we take the time to contact Mr. Peterson and say, listen, I think we've got some ideas here that might get you back on track?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Let's sit down and talk about where you are with this foundation.
Well, I think I would ask if he wants to head that organization, because the performance was not there in the past.
I think the problem is that the school district was leading the foundation by the nose. We were essentially, I hate to be so blunt about it, but
We were driving it.
we were driving it. And every time the foundation was literally on, you're resuscitating it, it was because, we literally sat here this time last year and had the same conversation.
Yep.
It was Margaret, myself, and Dr. Otto, and it was about I think it was about the foundation website. They had raised some money to put a website together. They hadn't done it. It wasn't going anywhere. There was no direction, no initiative to get it done. And I think Dr. Otto and Mr. Jacobs had a conversation. They said, okay, we'll do it. And then we put it up for them. And it still didn't go anywhere after
Never
that.
got any modifications to it, any events, it was just there, but there was nothing happening.
There was supposed to be a big push at the
Still
opening of
there.
the stadium in August. And
They
That's the
are,
last time I saw them. I saw
they are,
at the
that
ground
presentation-
No, at the groundbreaking.
yeah, right. And
That's
that
what-
presentation was done by,
Joe Peterson.
no, but who actually put the presentation together? It wasn't even Mr. Peterson. It was somebody else who helped him put the presentation. Actually,
For the groundbreaking presentation?
Yeah, and then,
I don't know. I saw him, he gave it.
yeah.
That's the last I
That was
saw
the
him.
last time that it actually functioned, and that was almost a year ago.
that's the last public event that they did, I believe.
I just pulled up their last minutes from August. It said there was an unanimous exception of the amended bylaws. They have $1,962.50. They were supposed to participate in the Optimist Club communities on the September 10th, 11th, and 12th. I don't know if that was done or not. And
There was election of a new vice president. Mrs. Conlon stepped in to become vice president.
And she resigned.
And she resigned based on the lack of
Because they
inactivity.
weren't getting anything done.
So,
I mean, I sat at one of the meetings and literally,
That's
she was
right, you
putting
did.
forth ideas. I mean, I sat as a member of the public, and she was putting forth ideas, and Peterson was shooting every single one of them down. They got in an argument, and then, it was literally, one of the board members got up and walked out.
how do the members get on the board?
It's a good question.
There's a
I mean, are they
process,
appointed by the
there's a
school
process
board?
in the bylaws.
Yeah, there's a process in the bylaws about how you get elected to the board. I mean, literally,
Well,
I almost think that thing just needs to die, and another foundation needs to step up in its place. And you have a different set of people on that foundation that are willing to put forward the effort to do what needs to be done. This one, it was kind of thrown to get, my impression, this is just me, it was kind of thrown together to champion the construction of the stadium. I think some of the funds that they raised were spent on the T-shirts that were, that just build the T-shirts and that sort of campaign. And there was a promise to raise almost dollar for dollar what the school district would do to match that.
The majority of that money got
It never
spent
went
on soliciting the services of a professional fundraising organization.
Which basically came to them and told them that they didn't have the database and they didn't have this and they didn't
Right.
have that, the things that they needed to actually go out and raise money. It's the stuff that essentially the REC committee has been trying to tackle on its own now for the
That's
last.
why I made the comment earlier about a lot of what we're doing is pseudo fundraising for something that I think foundations are designed to do. And I don't think it's a bad idea to finally push that envelope one more time and say, look, because the final, are they still on our website?
Yeah, I'm just.
They're not on the front, yeah.
No.
But
I had a hunt
I think
for
we're at a point
it
now where
there.
we need to say, we need to disassociate and take them off the webpage, period. I mean, I was being kind by saying, okay, you're not on the front page anymore. And he said, well, let me get back to you. Never got back to me.
I mean, I think
I'm not going to
If
chase
somebody-
I'm not going to chase somebody around the
The whole
community.
point of that 501c3 is to raise money to benefit the
Absolutely,
school district.
absolutely.
So why don't we ask
we
for that
form a new one?
$1,900? Aren't we entitled to that $1,900?
Well, I would say this, that
that
organization,
$1,900 could go towards,
from
lots
a
of
legal
different things.
standpoint, that organization has not dissolved. It is still a functioning entity that legally exists. It's a legal body.
So can we write a letter to them requesting $1,900 to help fund the
No.
startup costs of this adopt-a program?
You could do that, but then I think you're going to have the sports boosters right there saying,
Yeah, the sports boosters,
They
they
lost.
want to know where their $10,000 check went. I'd stay away from
Oh,
that
that's right,
one
the
until
sports
they
boosters
resolve it.
actually funded this foundation. to
They
start.
dropped them $10,000.
which that whole point is
Which
not
they
to
have,
take from
of which they
the
have
city,
$1,900
trying to
left.
Which was
survive.
supposed to, I think,
So what?
Excuse me, which was supposed to kickstart the whole,
the whole fundraising for the
stadium
stadium
fundraising.
thing, right? I think the problem is, it's the people that are in the positions of authority of the foundation refuse to step aside from those positions. And as a result, anybody else who wants to come to the table and kind of drive that operation is running into a stone wall. I mean,
there's no doubt in my mind that a foundation is a viable organization, a good one.
a foundation.
Yes.
I don't know if this
This one
foundation.
is not.
Well, that's why I was
So
asking.
I wouldn't give up on the concept.
That's why I'm asking about the board members and is there a way that somehow, I don't have bylaws and I don't know if there's a place I can get it. But is there a way you can get those people out? Or do you have to form a new?
Yeah, the
Or do we need to
bylaws-
form a new?
The bylaws talk about how if you don't have a meeting or whatever,
So somebody has to start that process of.
well, I think you have to, first of all, I
Who
think
would-
part
who
of the
would-
problem is you have to be a member of the foundation, which
Nobody
requires
joined.
some kind of a donation
We
to the
never did a
foundation
membership
in order
drive.
to.
That was the big thing we were going to do, was do a membership
So if I give them
drive.
$10 and get a member, and become a member, can I?
But I don't think they even
start the-
agreed on what the membership fee would
It was
be.
$10, I think.
I thought it was a 10, because there was an argument during the meeting I was at about what the membership fee was going to be.
Oh,
They hadn't
There may be a
established
reason to
that.
do that if there were substantial dollars in that fund, but there's not. So why not just start a new fund
Well,
altogether?
I mean, I
Then the
guess
question is
you could,
who's
but because
who's
you
going
have
to start it?
startup costs, I would guess. I mean, you have
There's
to,
costs
it's not
for
a lot,
establishing a
but you have to
501c3.
establish the, right. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's like $300 on LegalZoom.com to do that. I mean, it's not like it's a.
Yeah, I'm
The
not
issue is
saying
more
it's
of who
astro-
would.
Yeah, you need
who
to
would
find
run it?
who's going to step on
comes down
the
to the who
foundation and actually run that thing like an organization needs to be run, and treat it like a nonprofit that's going to go out and do these things, and then, quite frankly, link up with these types of things and help promote them for the school district. I think this is an excellent way to raise money. I think
I
do
as
too.
Bob, you were talking, I'm sitting there saying, well, shoot, my business, all our cell phones are on Verizon,
Right.
and
Right.
our contract's coming up. I mean, if I had to switch or renew, if there was a way we could do that and it benefited the school district, well, what's the scale
Why
off of
not?
my nose to do
Right.
that? I mean, why shouldn't I do that and let the school district make a couple of bucks off of it?
I agree. I like this one better than, I mean, I
But
think
you're not
easier-
pushing a service on me. I'm making that decision to go to Verizon. So why wouldn't I?
If you start this program and have this website designated to whatever said group, if it's not active or entries aren't say you only have one or two, and then it sits there for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, do you come back and say, you're not meeting your obligation, or we want to
There's
just...
no quotas, if that's what you mean. I mean, you won't make any money, but there's no quota.
Right. So we're not really losing.
I mean, the good thing is that they are services that people already use. I mean, the challenge is to get someone to move from Verizon to Sprint. But there's always people who are looking to move for different reasons as new accounts come along.
Actually, well, that's the question I wanted to ask you. What if you don't move? What if you stay with Verizon? Is there a way to say, well, look, I'm going to renew with
Right.
Verizon, so...
There's some pieces where you can renew, you can upgrade certain lines, qualify for it.
Uh-huh.
You know.
I'm just sitting there thinking, like in the back of my head, I sort of agree with you, Frank, that if we had a functioning foundation, that clearly that's the better mechanism for this. In the absence of that, is this something where you put it up, so they're sort of side by side with the Adopt the Program with a banner or something, where like a little brochure table that says, hey, look, we're taking donations, but one of the ways you can do this is if you have these services already, or you're thinking about switching to these services, that can benefit the school district. You're not pushing it, but you are promoting it.
All right.
I don't know if that's palatable to the school
Well,
district.
I think the folks from Ignite would come and say, hey, we need to be part of that too, because
Ignite.
we're the same thing. We're saying, if you want to
They're
lower
very
your energy
similar.
costs, you can switch and,
But the difference with Ignite is they're not in this territory. It's a PICO.
no, they're here now.
They're in Med Ed?
There's only
Yeah,
two
they just started Med Ed.
companies,
Oh, all right.
PICO and PPL, I think, in Pennsylvania. Because there's a side part of this that we offer energy as well in Pennsylvania. And every company's on energy now because of the deregulation.
Right.
In this particular area, it's not a viable option.
Yeah, the woman who talked to us about Ignite caught me at a concert that my son was at, performing at, and she said I think June 1st, Med Ed is
They did say
online
they were.
with
Well,
Ignite.
and I think
Maybe we
too,
need to reconsider the whole
if there's a
Ignite
cost, if there's a cost that we have to put up front, I mean, I think to me could be a difference. And I don't, see, I guess I look at this one, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but we don't necessarily have to go out and try to recruit, quote, people to be under us. We're just asking people if they want to use these services, or if they're using these services, if they'd sign up through this service, as opposed to recruiting people to go out and sell for us. I mean, that's kind of how I look at the pyramid scheme.
Sure,
I want to recruit you to go out and sell to your friends so that I can make money.
To be customized and sent out to.
I get nervous about how the school district would get stuck in the middle of a bad situation.
I don't say.
If somebody's not happy with Verizon for some reason, that has nothing to do with us.
Well, I have another logistical concern, not sorry to interrupt. These things always become who's going to do it. And that's a concern for me.
Right, in
I
the
don't think
Q&A,
we
I
do.
think it mentions that it recommends, having a couple dedicated people to get it up
See,
and running.
that's an issue for me. Trying to
It may
implement
not
something like
necessarily
this.
have
I
to
mean,
be
we're
the
having a
board,
hard
it
time
could
funding
be
this for without the program.
Say that again, Mr. Smith.
I'm saying it doesn't necessarily have to be the board, it can just be a few people who, need to help.
Right.
Administration, logistics.
Right.
Well, and are you talking? I mean, you're talking a few hours. I mean, you're not talking 40 hours a week. You're talking a couple
No,
hours a week.
Right, it's just a few hours here and there. Just to make, initially you get it up and running,
Right.
maybe develop your strategy, what's our cause, how are we going to market it, are we going to put it on the website, is it going to be passive, or are we going to be out at events, how do we promote it, that type of thing.
thing. Are there other schools that you know? I mean, this mentions churches and schools. I mean, do you guys actually have?
I don't know any other schools in this area that,
Well, even if they're not in this area, any other public schools that are actually doing this?
I don't know of
Or
any
even private
I know,
schools.
I know different churches are going, and I've heard of other organizations that do it. I haven't heard of any
See, that's the
schools.
things that's troubled me with both the Ignite and then hearing this. I have not yet defined another place where we can find a school that's doing it.
Somebody's got to be the first.
Well,
I know somebody's got to be, I understand that.
All right.
I'm not trying to be Mr. Roadblock.
No, I know, and
I think his caution is a valid one, about
I agree.
some of the things that you might, I mean, there's obviously some snags that might be in here that we're even unaware of, so.
Well, I guess what I'm just thinking is, let's just not dismiss it outright. Let's
Oh,
think about it and maybe there is a better vehicle for this, and maybe that's what we should
And that's
focus
right.
our
I'm not
efforts
even
on.
And I think we keep coming back to a lot of things of the foundation. I mean, I think maybe one of our goals as the Revenue Enhancement Committee needs to be figuring out how to get that, either how to get that moving or how to get a new one moving. And maybe
I
I'm
think it's the
wrong,
second one, is
but
you move faster
it
with the
just
second
seems
one
like
rather than
we keep
first.
coming back to, well, this would be great for the foundation, or, this would,
Well,
and I think,
in the bigger conversation, we have no legal tie to that organization, so if they fall apart, they're on their own. But they are not connected to us, other than we
Right.
happen to be on their list of potential board members. So it's their issue.
right, but it would be, a foundation, whether it's that one or another one, would be a beneficial tool for us. And we keep coming back to that need for a foundation. So I think that we need to focus on either how do we get another foundation or how do we get that foundation moving so that we can do some of this stuff. And it just seems like that's what we keep coming back to is everything, well, this would be great, but does the school really want to?
Well, I would be willing to reach out to the current foundation and invest a little bit of my time to say, what are your plans? And we need to know.
Yeah, I think that should be done. Is there some kind of legal reason that would prohibit a board member or yourself to be a voting participant on that foundation? You're just in an
Yes,
advisory
the way
capacity.
the bylaws are written, yes.
The way their bylaws are written.
Well,
But
on
it-
any foundation, you would probably get legal advice to tell you as a school board not to become connected to its workings, but be parallel to them. And whatever, the arrangement you have with them is an open door, but it's not one that links the two legally in any way.
The only
Because
negative to any of these foundations is that if they're successful in raising money, we really can't dictate where those funds get utilized. They'll write us a check, and they could write us a check and say, I want all this to go toward something very specific, and not to necessarily where we would distribute those funds.
Well, I think that's kind of the rub that we had here a year or two ago, particularly between Margaret and I, because she was a big fan of the foundation, and I looked at revenue enhancement as something that was directly within board control, right? We decide what the initiative is, we decide how we're going to allocate our resources to man that mission and see it through, and we decide how the benefits, the dividends of those efforts are distributed within the school district. And her thing was, well, look, that's the foundation's role. And my big thing was, that's out of our control. We had no control over what the foundation was doing. We were spending a lot of time hoping and wishing that it was A, going to get started, B, going to do what it was supposed to do, and C, that it was somehow going to get the money back to us. And none of that ever happened. And what if you had a rogue foundation that says, well, look, we're just going to give money to, in mini grants to whatever, whereas we have programs that are being defunded. And we were like, no, can you do it this way? And they're like, no, that's not what we want to spend our money on. Or if the board's dominated by, I don't know, pick a special interest group, and well, that's what we're going to,
Say the football team.
whatever. It's all football parents. We're going to funnel all our money to support the football program, and no money gets to band or art or whatever, new laptops and thing. I think that was my biggest issue with it, and that's the reason why I went to Subers and we sort of asked him, is there any reason why the school district can't do its own fundraising? And the answer was no. You guys can absolutely positively go out and raise your own money any way you want. Annual funds, capital campaigns, adopt the programs. The sky's the limit. I guess the next step is, how far do you wade into something like this? I'm thinking as a board, we agreed, hey, maybe advertising isn't so bad. We haven't pursued that venue yet. But what if you're advertising this?
Maybe the approach we take is to look at this as more as a concept that comes out of Revenue Enhancement Committee for having some type of buyers club or something like that. That the school would have some mechanism to offer our membership, or whatever you'd like to refer to us as, our membership, opportunities to buy things at discounted prices or whatever, and the benefits coming back to the school. And oh, by the way, to kick off this whole Buyers Club initiative, we have one idea right here on the table that fits into it. And there could be other things that fit into it. I mean,
Well, I was thinking, I wrote down here, actually.
this way, it's not like we're selling this one idea.
No, you're
We're selling
promoting
an idea of a buyer's club,
Yes.
and here's how
Some opportunity.
we can start out with these types of services. But the
Whether
buyer's club can be expanded to offer other services as well.
I was thinking of something, I wrote down here, like, what is it Redner's does with the receipts, right? The save tape. And people encourage, go to Redner's, and get the receipts.
There's a
because
lot of clubs doing that now.
You can turn them in and make, you get a donation or whatever it is from Redner's for it. So, no one seems to have an issue with Redner's promoting this and making those donations and people shopping at Redner's. It's a way of people steering people towards Redner's or just getting where people already shop, which is Redner's. So if you're already buying your stuff from Verizon, or if someone decides they're going to switch from MedEd to Ignite, why shouldn't the school district benefit from those choices?
If you make it clear that you're not necessarily endorsing products or services, but you're putting those opportunities that, is it the kids as fundraisers sell, certain pizzas or certain coupons for this, fast food
That
place.
money goes to them.
It does,
There's a little
but
different spin to that.
Yeah.
right, but they're not saying, here, you have to go eat at Wawa, but if you eat at Wawa and you buy your coupon, your hoagie tickets through us, we get the money. I don't, but I kind of like your idea of it can be whatever.
It could be- yeah.
If you go join XYZ gym and, you mentioned Daniel Boone or whatever, we get 10%. It could be anything.
You could add anything. I guess
Right.
the question is, like Dr. Otter says, who's going to be
Right.
heading this up or programs up?
Again, I don't want to dismiss it out of hand, but that's a big question. Not that can't be answered, but it's a definite.
Well, this actually kind of, now that we're talking about it this way, this sort of dovetails into the whole idea of the third-party merchandising, which is something I kind of brought up a long time ago, which is how do you connect with vendors in your market? And it gives them access to your consumers, right, that you have, whether it's parents or students or whatever, and why doesn't the school district benefit from that? So this was more in connection with when it came to our sporting events, the boosters are in there selling the concessions and stuff like that. Well, it came to my attention that Rita's Water Ice wanted to sell water ice at our stuff, and they were going to give us a percentage of their sales. Now, as a school district, when I brought that up, there was a lot of, oh, you can't do that because you're going to cannibalize whatever it is that the boosters are selling. I don't look at it that way. I kind of look at you growing the pie for everybody, right? If boosters are selling ice cream and somebody else is selling water ice, they're two different products. I don't think you necessarily take one for the other, but if I'm in a stadium and my kids want water ice, but they don't want ice cream, I'm going to go spend the money on water ice. Who benefits? The school district, right? Because the school district got a percentage of it. Just like if I spent the money buying a hot dog from the concession stand, the boosters get the money, and in turn, the boosters support district programs. So
It's like money recycling.
it's the same point. I might go to a game then, and I might spend $50 on both things instead of just $20 for a hot dog. You follow me?
Or you could just do one, and it could take away from, even though schools end dictating where that money goes versus that individual, say, booster, either one of the boosters.
Right. So, that sort of, rubbed
Sort of
the raw
defeat-
nerve. People got a little nervous
I
that
think
there
it's
was going to be some
defeating the purpose.
cannibalization there. The other part of it was, with the JD Sport thing, like, he goes in, sets up a tent, sells all kinds of Daniel Boone merchandise there, the school doesn't receive a penny from it.
No, and there again, we heard it was minimal what he sold.
Whatever the case may be, so how is it any different than letting somebody else come in and sell their products or services, and the school district somehow benefits? I think
Well, this doesn't exist today, so
Yeah.
it's easier.
Well, and there is
It's
no
not
third
like-
party.
There's nobody you can claim is getting cannibalized because there's nothing happening today.
Right.
And Mr. Smith presented this number to us. For example, first 100 customer clubs, $1,000 up front. That's a number he presented to us, and we said, okay. But, that number could say $800 up front, and $200 goes to somebody who manages this. What do we know? That number could have been $2,000, and he made it $1,000. What do we care? As long as we get some money back to the school district, that's fine.
Would you like to see an organization within the school manage it?
Well, we
Like
can.
FBLA or something like that?
Well, another booster organization, boosters.
Well, boosters can do this independent of the school.
Because they're all 501c3s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, boosters can start this,
Music is a
Sports
501c3?
is not.
Yeah.
yeah, well, right, sports are supposed to get that done.
So let's say there was a piece of this, take again this example on the slide, $1,000. Let's say there's a piece of that goes to the music boosters, specifically to them, for managing the program, and then the other 70, 80% goes to us.
The boosters clubs, in my opinion, are, again, parallel educational foundations in that they have the manpower. I mean, there are how many people that buy into, but you have a board, you have paying members.
Well, I think what Frank's
Right, well,
point
Frank
is
says we pay them
let's
to manage.
utilize the manpower, but we'll let them leverage our system. So in essence, you
Right.
give them a slice. You say,
Right, I
look,
get it.
if we're going to make $1,000 off of this, then,
They get-
you know, they get 100 and the other 900 goes
Right.
to the school. And
Because I think that's fair. Our options are either you assign that work to somebody, which you can't do. You just don't have the bodies to do
Logistically,
it.
it doesn't, right.
We look for a volunteer, which I don't see any falling out of the sky in the past 2 years that I've been around.
Yeah.
Or we have somebody else benefit from this as well. You know, have them do the work we can't do, and they get something out of it, and we get something out of it. I mean, what's wrong with that? I could see an adopt a program, it could be a problem, because someone said, listen, I donated $1,000 to go toward this educational program, and now you're telling me that 800 is going to music, and
Right.
200 is going to music, and you're only using 800 of my dollars. I could see them having an issue with that. But something like this, there's no issue. And it sort of gives us the separation that makes me comfortable, that we're not so directly in the mix. The boosters are managing it, not the school district. I kind of think it's a good idea.
They're pretty well organized, and they're a large entity. Probably the
Well,
largest.
both are.
Well, yeah.
What about the PTCs in our district? I wonder if
Yeah,
they're
I think
501c3s.
Sherry Mondock has actively offered to help us at a couple of REC meetings, so I think
Right.
that's the reason
So I
why
could-
Scott's
I could
bringing her
have her-
name up specifically.
Come in and run that by her.
well, maybe what we ought to do is for the June REC meeting is we invite Mr. Smith back, we invite these people from Ignite back, and have the heads of the boosters organizations, maybe the PTC here as well, to say, hey, look, you know, this is sort of what we're considering, and, you know, if your organizations can staff this, we want to work out some sort of percentages. I mean, given what I've seen with the budget, I mean, hopefully this becomes more of a collaborative thing, and people aren't saying, well, it's, you know, we're doing all the work and you're getting all the money, you know. In the end, the school district's supposed to be getting all the money anyways for all this stuff. And,
But I can see the booster organizations are going to want their cut to do the things.
well,
that
they should get a cut because they are doing the work, but I just don't want it to be like, well,
Lion share?
yeah, it shouldn't be the lion's share, because at the end of the day, we're trying to promote something that, you know,
A little something extra that they can obtain
Mhm.
versus,
well, quite frankly, we're going to provide them access to the entire student body and parents and everything
there
else
might
that the
be
school
some
district has to
fundraisers that they
offer.
might not have to do.
Correct.
Or that aren't too successful right now, that they're really killing themselves.
Yeah, because their concern last they were here was that, listen, you know, you guys are digging into people's pockets, and we're digging into people's pockets, and it's just,
It has to
you know, it's going to hurt us if you're successful. That's the mentality. But here, again, it's not the case. This is, you're not already there digging into anybody's pockets
No, it's
with
a
this.
service they're paying for anyway.
This is new. It's new. Boosters aren't involved. Sports or music, we're not involved. Here's an opportunity for them to make additional money and for us to make money at the same time.
Okay.
So I think that's a good idea, a good approach to take with that.
Absolutely.
All right. Mr. Smith, would you mind coming back next month and
Sure, just-
we'll assemble the other organizations?
June 8th.
That's fine. And I'll see if I can find out what other organizations, have utilized it and how it's working.
I think that's helpful because it gives us somebody to talk to who says, look, we've been there, done that, these are the problems we had, this is how we got around those things, you guys can avoid the same mistakes, and
Yeah.
away we go. It just makes so much easier.
What kind of commitment or manpower are we looking at?
I think in the Q&A, it makes reference to, a couple of people. Let's see if I see it now. It's not a huge commitment. There's a question, I think it's on there, how many volunteers and hours of time will our organization need for this program? It talks about recommending a minimum committee of 3 people to establish, on the development and coordination and some of the ongoing things that may arise. So it talks about a few people. It doesn't necessarily give a time frame, but I wouldn't say more than a few hours, per person a week. It's not a huge commitment.
Where do you see that? First page or second page?
What are you looking at?
Oh, we gave him a question and answer.
So Frank gets to.
And I guess too, that's also based on.
Committee chair.
That's also based on customers
You're special.
for the time.
Oh, that's different than what I have here?
Yeah, it's a different version of it.
Obviously, if it grows larger, you may have another person join, but if it grows larger, then financially, you're going to grow as well.
I got you.
I was kidding.
Well, in case anybody wants to see it. All right, great. Well, we'll try to get something set up. I'll try to recap it and send you an email. Then maybe you can forward it on to.
Name their meeting minute.
Who?
Music group or something.
Oh, are they?
They work pretty good because they're actually, sports teachers are actually realigning their officers and also along a joint committee with a representative that'll handle fundraising and snack bars and
Okay.
operations. So, which will work in turn, that individual will work in turn with the new facilitator of sports.
Yeah, last year at the football games, they had, I think there was somebody that did like snow cones, and was that was an outside vendor, right?
I don't know who. I don't know if Mr. Legaff had him didn't do too well, but
Well, it was really cold a lot of games,
Yeah.
and plus I think they were like
The ice didn't
$7
melt.
snow cones or something.
$7
I've heard they were $5 or so. They were pretty.
Holy.
They were big.
All that. Have you ever snow cone standing?
Yeah,
he's
over
in
near
Reading a
the.
lot. He's in Reading a lot.
Well, I was saying if we have,
I
if
don't
we have
like
snow
snow
cones
cones
and they're not, I
personally,
don't
so
either,
I'm
and they're
totally
not, and that wasn't through the boosters, then does it necessarily hurt to, do read or do?
I'd have
something
to
else?
follow up on that one.
I just remember seeing it and thinking some of the games was so
That's
cold. I was like,
Yeah, that
oh,
was
gotcha.
horrible.
Well, all of our games, we played all the games in October
Yeah,
last year.
it
but
was
the stadium
so
was,
cold.
It was cold.
All right, I think 2 more items I have on the agenda that we could probably get through a little quicker than these other ones. One of them was we had reviewed something a couple of meetings ago about a program that I think Wilson instituted with allowing the faculty to get funds taken out of their pay for contributions, like $1 a paycheck or
Right,
something
it
like
went to the foundation.
You were going to speak to someone at Wilson, I think, Dr. Rod. I don't know if you've had the opportunity.
No,
to
that
do
one fell off the chart. I'll have to get back to you by June 8th on that one. I apologize.
All right,
Actually, I still have the sheet that you gave me here on that one. I just didn't.
There it is.
Yes.
Yep. I'll put that in the
Yeah, just put
in the
that back
write-up
on the
for
to-do
you.
list. Yep.
And again, what we were talking about, if everybody remembers, is just a program that I had gotten actually from Anne Marie.
And again, that's run through their Ed Foundation. So
Right.
and I actually know this person personally, so I'll put that back on my list.
So the Ed Foundation has the ability to
Yeah, they're actually doing this.
come back to the school district and tell the school district to not garnish, but to
If you give them
take money
permission.
out. Yeah.
Can you find out how the results? Is it pretty positive from that individual that?
Wilson is pretty aggressive with, it's a different kind of community atmosphere there, but I don't know. I'll find out. I just didn't follow up on this one.
Okay. And then lastly, just an update on what our next steps are with the alumni database.
Well, we've got 7,400 names.
That's actually amazing.
We still are missing 68. I only have 2 names from 68, 65, 62, 63. So we do have room
We're missing all of 62 and 63?
Yeah, nothing in, we have one name in 63, one name in 65, nothing in 66. So we did put out an email to get some of the yearbooks we were missing, and we did recover those. But I think around 1967 is when they first started actually publishing a yearbook. Before that, they didn't have them. So we were getting names, like from the class of 50 or 60 and 61. Tom Schott had gotten me the stuff from the reunion. So we were getting them from other sources. So we still have room to get more names. The other day I contacted Harris Connect. Remember them? They were the group that if you got 10,000 names, they would do all the research for you.
Right.
I wanted to see what they would do for us, if they would charge us a minimal cost because we weren't at the 10,000. They were supposed to get back to me, and I haven't heard from them yet, but I want to see what they may do for us. If we can take all those names and get them to provide us with up-to-date information, we have a nice database.
Yeah.
I think the most we're going to get is about 8,000 names. I think that's all the grads we actually have. So we have made movement. Now we also have
Well, how many are graduating?
I was gonna say, can we count the ones?
Not 2,000.
Add another 200.
Yeah, almost 300 additional coming soon. So we'll pull that information right out of the student information.
Yeah, that's fresh information.
So, yeah, that'll take us up to
7,700. Yeah.
So we got names. We just got to get more data about them. Now, we did
And I think I
have-
had talked to that Harris. They said if you got close, they would try to work something out.
I'm hoping to get a call back tomorrow. I expected to get one today. We do have the database collection. It's, again, on the school board page, school board docs. It's sign up and give us your information. So that's there, but we haven't got any feedback on it, so we didn't put it out yet.
Okay.
One thing, problem with stuff like that, when you start collecting names,
What do you do?
sometimes you get some bogus names.
Right. So what we're going to need to do from a software perspective is we'll have to put an indicator, a date indicator in there, so that if someone goes in and starts updating information, that we can say this information is up to date as of a certain date, or else we'll never have a good feeling out of the 7,700, how many are up to date and how many are a year old, or how recent this information is. So we'll have to do an update there on the
But all
software.
those names that you
Like a
mentioned
last
there, are
modified
that number of
kind?
names are in the...
Yeah, or specifically when this information
That's what
was
they did, that's what all those volunteers did.
Or created. I mean, right
Must
now,
have done a good
the
job.
information you're pulling from a book
Yeah, we had a
could
bunch
be
of them.
50 years old.
Right, that's the thing, like at last modify would be, would give you two, if somebody went and
Right.
changed it.
Sort of, it's a little different, because last modified, for argument's sake, you'll go into somebody who graduated in 1970 and they were last modified 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Because they were, the data was entered.
Right.
It's when the data was actually validated. When's the
Okay.
last date of validation of this data?
Okay.
And then from that, we can get a list of, really who's current. Maybe we have 1,500 that we can get current, and then we could target those 1,500 in some kind of campaign, which we'll have to talk about next. What would we want that campaign to be? If I'm talking funny, it's because I'm deaf. I can't hear
You sound
myself.
like your voice
Is
getting a
it
little raspy.
worthwhile, for those years maybe that we're missing, to ask one of the newspapers that regularly attends our meeting to put a little blurb in one of their articles that we're looking for, if anybody, I mean,
It would be nice.
Up there, it goes to a couple editors, sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
If you
okay.
want to email me something, that's fine, it's just, they like policies, we do this, we don't do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
I don't know what the parameters are, but no, sure, if you want to give me something to email.
It
Awesome.
doesn't hurt to
That'd be
ask. I mean, I don't know how many people read, if they're local or not, but maybe somebody reads the paper and says, oh, hey, they're looking for.
Well, you never know, you only need one person to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if we could even do that in maybe on our Facebook page.
We did get
Not sure.
some faculty response when we put it out. In fact, Don Weaver, previous AD, retired quite a few years ago. He actually came up with some of the classes for us.
Oh, wow.
He dropped in and with us. So the next thing would be to try to get out to the public. We did it internally through the district employees.
That's amazing that we even have 7,000 plus names. That's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Well, I think you got a critical mass now where we can sort of start talking about doing what we did, which is, hey, look, let's launch the alumni page and say, look, now through Connect Ed and everywhere else, say, go and check if you're a Daniel Boone grad or you know a Daniel Boone grad, can you go and check the websites and make sure the data is accurate and
Right.
log in and update your data type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And encourage Daniel
Yeah.
Boone grads that you know to do the same. I
Yeah,
think
we'll have to
that's the
find
next-
some way to ensure that the person logging in is who they say they are, and they're not. That was our issue before, where
Yeah,
someone
you're
could
gonna
go in
get
and put.
A little bit of a mortality rate.
Yeah.
You can't.
But on that same note, Mr. Jacobs, the data that we got from Mrs. Facette that she collected, that you had them key in, do you still have that information? Because we'll have to go back and we can at least set validated dates to those in the database to say that they were, this is up-to-date information. I don't know how, do you remember how many that was?
A couple of hundred.
It's around 400, I'm not sure. I have the little box sitting on my desk.
Right.
That's what she got at football games and.
So I'll put that down as a to-do, that we got to update the software for that.
So hopefully Harris Connect will come through for us and really give us the updated information. I know Exeter used them, but Exeter apparently has 10,000 graduates.
Right. All right. Anything else? Anyone?
Question from the
I
audience.
have one question. On the adopted program, and you're putting together the form that indicates where they want their money to go, and I was thinking about ways to get the public to know more about it. Are we able to put on there something about, like, I have a website, and I would like to help adopt a program grow? So I would put Daniel Boone on my website, and then we could link directly to adopt a program on your website, and then you don't have to link back to mine, but just so that when someone goes to my website and says, oh, what's the adopt a program? I wonder what that is. Let me just click on it, and then they'll throw it to your.
Yeah, you can just pick up the URL and make a link right in your page.
Okay, there's no approval, like you wouldn't want to get, like, put that out that you're allowed to do that, to try to get other people to get in?
I don't think you can stop people from linking to your site.
You can't?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, if I have Dr. Otto homepage and I'm going to have a Daniel Boone link on there, who's going to stop me?
Yeah, so as soon as
I don't think there's any law against that, is there?
If you link to it, you'll see it up in the address, and copy and paste and everything like that.
So that people can go there.
I mean, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's on the form, link with us to grow, it might encourage people to do that.
No, I think that
rather
is a
than,
good
I didn't
idea.
know I could
Yeah.
do that.
Right.
That's a great idea.
It's the same concept as Facebook. If you have a Facebook page, you can put links, hyperlinks in a Facebook page.
Yeah. But no, her comment is that we should educate people
To do it.
to do it.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
they
that
may
makes
not
sense.
think to do it.
Or know they can do it.
Or know they can do it.
Yeah, one of the sub-pages on the pages of Adopt a Program Now, we could actually put the link right there. This link to your webpage to help us grow.
Yeah, that's what I was
Have to be
thinking.
on the form.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Anywhere we can get it and blast it out. I think we have to have, like we talked before, that common logo that just shows up everywhere. It's got to be, no matter where you see it, whether it's on someone's webpage, whether it's on our webpage, whether it's a sign, whether it's a banner, it's got this common logo that people begin to associate with that program.
Did you send out to the community buzz?
Yeah, well, that'd be another one that
Yeah.
we want to link
That's
to.
Yeah.
helping growing too. They get a good readership.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's so much advertising on that community buzz now. It's almost hard to find
Wait, yeah.
what you're looking for. It's,
That's a danger, actually.
yeah. Makes it tough.
All right. Great.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.